Angelina's Christmas. It's a small little book with lots of writing. So, there's the picture. It's kind of hard to see, isn't it? Christmas was coming and everybody at Angelina's school was working hard to prepare for Christmas show. Angelina and the other children stayed after their lessons to rehearse and help decorate the hall. When Angelina left the school, it was already dark outside. Large snowflakes were falling and Angelina was so excited that she danced along the pavement. The cottages in the village looked warm and welcoming, with holly wreaths on the door and Christmas lights shining in the windows. But the very last cottage was cold and dark. Angelina peeped in the window and saw an old man huddled by the tiny fire. There she is, walking through, and she sees him huddled by the fire. Angelina ran the rest of the way home and found her mother and little cousin. There she is running. Henry in the kitchen. She asked her mother about the man who lived all alone in the cottage. "Oh, that's Mr. Bell," her mother replied. "He used to be the village postman, but he's too old to work now." Angelina decided that she wanted to make a Christmas surprise for Mr. Bell, so Mrs. Mouseling gave her some dough to make biscuits shaped like stars, bells, and trees. So she's going to bake for him. There they are baking. See the little tin pans? Henry had a piece of dough too, and he made a nice big Father Christmas biscuit. "Look," he said proudly, "I'm going to see Father Christmas tonight and give him this biscuit myself." So for them, Santa Claus is Father Christmas. Father Christmas only comes very late at night, and everyone who has gone to bed, Angelina explained. "Why don't you leave your special biscuit out on a plate for him? Like we leave cookies and milk for Santa, right?" Henry started to cry. "No," he shouted. "I want to see Father Christmas." "Don't be such a crybaby, Henry," Angelina scolded. But Henry wouldn't stop crying. There he is crying. It's the next page. Next afternoon, Angelina and her mother packed a basket with the biscuits, mince pies, and fruit for Mr. Bell. "Don't you want to help Angelina take the presents to Mr. Bell?" asked Mrs. Mouseling to Henry, who shook his head. Then Angelina and her father went out to find a Christmas tree for Mr. Bell. Henry followed Angelina and Mr. Mouseling all the way to Mr. Bell's cottage, but he wouldn't speak to them. He's very upset. The next page, there's Mr. Bell. The old postman was amazed and delighted to see visitors. He invited Angelina and her father inside. Then he noticed Henry standing alone in the snow. "Come in, my friend," said Mr. Bell with a big smile. Mr. Bell's eyes were bright and twinkling. "Wait a minute," he said, and disappeared up the stairs, then came back down, looking. So he goes in, he sits on that chair there. I don't know why this is kind of funky. This book I'm having a hard time. "Just like Father Christmas! This is the red costume I wore once when Father Christmas needed someone to take his place at the village Christmas party." And Mr. Bell, with a chuckle, I think I missed a page. Sorry, guys. No? That's right. Okay. Said Mr. Bell with a chuckle, and he sat down with Henry on his knee. While Mr. Mouseling made tea and Angelina decorated the tree, Henry listened to Mr. Bell's stories. Look at him sitting on his lap over here. "I used to go out on my bicycle, no matter what the weather was like, to deliver presents to all the children in the countryside. One year, there was a terrible storm. I had to deliver the toys on a sledge, and if I hadn't glimpsed the village lights blinking in the distance, I would have been lost in the storm." Henry listened with his wide eyes. See, there he is as a postman up here, delivering presents. So he's not telling stories. He really did because he worked for the post office, like a mailman. And there we go. When it was time to go, Henry reached into his pocket. I made this, he said, and I'd like to give it to you. Out of his pocket, he took his big Father Christmas biscuit and gave it to Mr. Bell. This is the best Christmas surprise I've had for many years, said Mr. Bell, thanking Henry and Angelina for their presents. Angelina said she wished Mr. Bell would come to her school to show. Sorry, let me start again. Right here. Angelina said she wished Mr. Bell would come to her school show in his Father Christmas costume. That would be my pleasure, he said, smiling. Oh, these pages are getting me. Don't want to skip one. Okay, I guess that's it. So there he is at the school at this Father Christmas. Later, all the children gathered around Mr. Bell, and Henry felt proud as Mr. Bell handed out the Christmas presents and entertained everyone with stories about his adventures as a postman. Mr. Bell was never lonely at Christmas again because every year he was invited to come to Angelina's school show dressed as Father Christmas. Aw, isn't that nice of her to help out an older man who doesn't have family?